administration and submits to the council. And through this this discussion, we hopefully by the end of the day will have something that we both agree on and can get passed. That will be our binding budget for the next fiscal year.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started.
You got
proceed forward.
any changes that you need to make?
Also, as obviously the budget is a work in process, and we can't predict or foresee everything that happens. So even since this budget document has been prepared, which the process started in November, and it was submitted to the council on the 15th of March. Things come up that we need to change and account for. So there's a page that I've just handed out that lists the changes that the administration is proposing to this document. Most of which you can see out to on the right-hand column is an explanation for the changes. Most of them are rolling capital. For
Explain rolling capital.
I will. For capital, operating capital outlay items that are not received by April 30th or will not be received by the end of the fiscal year, April 30th, we roll those funds forward to the next year. Because if we, and so basically it's a net effect of zero. The money was budgeted last year. The item was ordered out of those budgeted funds. It was not received. Since we're on a cash basis, we haven't paid for it, so the budgeted funds have not been expended. So we include those funds into this year's budget in the year they'll actually be expended.
Just roll them in.
Right. So you can look at this.
You can also explain plug. I like plug.
That's a technical term. There are 3 new positions on this sheet that were discussed in the administrative budget review, and we're not sure of whether we're going to propose adding them or not. And since then, we have decided on 3 of them that we would like to propose adding them. One, they're towards the top of the page. One is a mechanical systems technician in the building services department, an animal control officer at the animal shelter, and a principal planner in the planning department. And as you can see, the line directly below that reduces the professional fees by the same amount. So we're adding a position, taking away some contract
So that's a net zero.
So there's a net effect of 0, right?
Mr. Lawson, on 2-3, just when you go to your budget, you'll note.
So those are the main things that, the next section of general capital projects, that's simply since we proposed this document, there's been a few reprioritizations of some capital projects in the building services department. And you can look through that list and see that some things have been deleted or added or the amount changed. And we'll go over the capital project section later today. Any questions about those additions? If not, we'll go on to the revenue section. I'll give you an overview on section 1, page 5 of the budget. There's an overview of the general fund.
So 1-5.
Yes, sir. Section 1, page 5. The middle of the page is a recap of expenses by division. The top of the page is a recap of revenue by revenue type. The internal service interfund, most of that number, that's the largest number on the revenue section. Most of that is from the sales tax fund, which sales tax revenue is received into that fund and then dispersed out to the appropriate funds, whether it be capital projects, general fund, or any other funds. Bottom of the page is an expenditure summary by category, which is pretty interesting and informative. If you look at that, the first two lines are salary and fringe benefits, and you can see that those two add up to about 35 million. So they're a large portion of our total expenditures.
And you'll note, Mr. Lawson, that 35 million is the 35 million that we discussed when it came to the tax reallocation issues. It's that same, if you look at our total budget, it's that same percentage that goes to employees, and if you remove, we'd be limited to on those numbers that I made. So it's that basically a third to the employees for a $60 million operational budget.
Which is substantial.
Which means any hit, once you remove the employees, of $4 more million would rock our ability.
We got a payroll. One will take.
Any questions on that page, the recap page?
And again, we're doing an overview. This won't be adopted at today's meeting, so the public will still have the opportunity for input, suggestions, critiquing. We'll have the budget documents readily available for them.
Right, there's 2 weeks, there's a 2 week delay. We can go forward. The rest of the pages in this section are a summary of the same type for the smaller type funds. We'll cover those items in detail in the other section, so unless anybody has any questions, we'll just skip that. And go to the general fund tab 2. Tab 2, page 1, is a detail of the revenue in the general fund. Actually, page 1 and 2 and 3. Towards the bottom of page 1 is a recap of the sales tax section. You can see that the amounts that we budgeted for the various sales tax calls. The 1976 sales tax, which is a 1-cent sales tax, half of which goes to the general fund, and the other half of which is dedicated to capital projects. We budgeted $6.5 million, and so those numbers right in there are the largest portion of the revenue for the general fund.
Mr. Crutchfield, I'm looking at on that particular page on the FEMA recovery. Did they ever reimburse the city for the expenses that we put out? I'm looking at the figures just listed, 2005, 2000 through 2007.
In the intergovernmental section,
right
on the page.
Correct.
We have received some additional FEMA reimbursement in this fiscal year. I think in the amount of about $90,000, and we still have a little bit more outstanding. And they just let us know this week that we have to redo some forms that we sent in, which has been a problem from the beginning of this process. Every time a different person takes over, they want a form filled out a little bit different way. But we've gotten over 80% of the reimbursement that we requested, and the few last items, I think we're pretty close on getting those.
So you would say over the next fiscal year, we would probably have total reimbursement through that transitions?
I think so, based on the recent discussion. Yes, sir.
You've made no provision for it.
No, I think so.
That's conservative budgeting, Mr. Silver.
I would say you're right.
Well, it's been 3 years, so, you know.
You can't guess in the budget meeting.
That's right. We're doing well so far. Okay, let's go.
Any other questions?
You got everything in before we started.
Yeah, good.
On page 1, 2, or 3?
Mr. Crutchfield,
Yes.
you might want to point out the parish sales tax that is in the intergovernmental section.
Thank you, Mr. Gist. In the middle of the page, on page 1, the first line of the intergovernmental section is our portion or the city's portion of the parish-wide 1 cent sales tax, and we budgeted 7.1 million as our estimated proceeds from that. Typically, it's been a little bit more than that. That's in fiscal year before the one we're currently in was 7.5 million. We're expecting that to be around 7.8 million this current fiscal year.
Which is still 15% of what we're talking about from the total
Yes.
budget.
So obviously, as you can see, the sales tax reallocation discussion would impact that number, but that number would go down by whatever amount that our portion of that tax was reduced by. So, over 50%, yeah. Any other questions?
Just for Mr. Smith, on page 2.3, Charles, that sheet David handed out when you walked in just modifies that total revenue number of 58,242,000 to 58,242,000. So if you just look here, you'll see the number that you have on page 2.3, which matches that we explained right before you walked in, is now up, and it's for those 3 jobs, Charles, one of which is a wash, that last new position, because you'll see the professional fees were taken out in the same amount, so we're adding a position
2.3,
that we keep needing on the contract basis. And we would now make that a permanent position, which is consistent with civil service rules.
Mr. Redmond asked a question, which several people may want to answer to, so I'll repeat it for those that may not be able to hear it. He asked Mr. Crutchfield if the actions that they're trying to undertake now would impact this budget, the sales tax reallocation. And
That would depend on the timing of the tax, the vote by the public, and if that was passed, whenever that would probably take effect in this fiscal year. New taxes can only start on the beginning of a quarter, but I'm not sure on a reallocation.
I think it's possible, but not probable, but what would be November, so they can call it?
It would be in October. Just to answer Mr. Redmond's question very directly, we have, or are working on now, at least 2, if not 3 scenarios of how we would deal with it if it affected this budget. Mr. Crutchfield and I are doing that now, where we have different scenarios, if you will. So you have scenarios 1, 2, and 3. And one scenario is you would look at non-essential services, which is a terrible term to use because we don't think that any loss of quality of life initiatives we think they're essential. So, but we have different ones where you look at the pay plans that we have, that fire and police, I'm sure, will be doubling over here and right now as we talk about it. But we have different ways of affecting the budget, and then hybrid ways where you do a little of both to figure out what is best for the citizenry. And Mr. Redmond, Mr. Lawson is having a special hearing that we will go through some PowerPoint presentations, hopefully 2 today, on the sales tax issue in council. So we may talk about it from time to time as it comes up, but we'll answer your question very directly. Mr. Lawson will later in one of the committee meetings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
On section 2, page 3, this is the number I think that everybody probably is looking for, the use of prior year revenue, which is the budgeted use of our fund balance. This budget document, as prepared, has a use of prior year fund balance of $8.8 million. So when we talk about a $20 million fund balance, this budget assumes using $8.8 million of that. And if you look at the sheet that we handed out with the items that have changed since then, it's at the top of the page. That number goes to $9,224,000. However, keep in mind that some of that is a reduction of the current year's budget, all the rolling capital items. So we're still pretty close to the $8.8 million mark, which is a significant amount.
And if you look, Mr. Lawson, on 2, 3, if Mr. Marshall, if you go back to our section, just the two sales taxes, if you go back to 1.6, you'll see that either way, when you look at these numbers across and the growth, it's fairly consistent with expansion that's happened for all of us, for the parish too. You know, we talk about the Alexandria and the parish sort of moving together, and it's just a fact that that's what happens. As Alexandria does well, the parish does, and vice versa. And as they both fall, they both tend to fall in your regulation.
Any questions on that?
Right along.
Okay, page 11.7, and it is the city council budget. No major changes there from the prior year budget. A couple of small line item changes. Travel and training budget increased a little bit. Any questions?
Lois, look at
Salaries, question, I got questions on salaries.
Yes, sir.
They remain virtually the same, right?
This is the council's, but council salaries of 18,000 set by ordinance.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for that section? If not, we'll move to page 10, which is the city clerk's budget. Not many changes there. You can look down. By the way, under the 2007-2008 column in the middle of the page, and this will hold true throughout this whole budget document, the final budget column listed there is after major budget amendment. That's where we expect to end up this year with our final budgeted amounts. And so when you compare what we'll call last year's, which is the current year budget, to the budget that we're proposing, the administrative approved column is the last column to the right, and that is the column that the administration has, through our reviews, have come up with as a proposal. So just wanted to clarify that. That the far right column is the one we need to be looking at.
You got a question, Mr. Marshall?
Any questions?
Yeah, I had a couple in here. We can discuss it a little bit later on.
Okay.
Section 2, page 13 is,
you see their increase from Department of Request.
Okay, I'm looking at
Okay.
requested
Executive up.
What page you looking at? I think Mr. Marshall's still looking at the
I'm still
11.9.
looking at the
Okay.
clerk salary.
Back.
on page 10.
I think on the administration approved,
Yeah, that,
I think that's the increase based on the recommendation of the administration. Am I correct?
The department, which would be the council, may request, and we actually upped the numbers on a couple of those items.
This budget document includes, except for the fire and police departments, 4% across the board rates.
Which
Which
was
is
an
reflected
assumption
in
on our part about what you would do, but that's your prerogative.
I think we want to do likewise 4%. I'd like to do.
Yeah,
I don't know
correct.
what my colleagues like to do.
Yeah, and I would like to see that 4% across the board. I think that would be good.
So we remember when we get to the other side that aren't the council employees, you have a pay plan coming in, negotiated fire, police separately, and you have the pay plan for everyone else. When I came into office, we sort of froze everything and did a 2%, if you will recall last year, because we knew a pay plan was coming. So now we have a 4% that brings in the 2-year period, a 6% total, which is, we think, very nice considering that you have new pay plans for everybody, so the whole base changes.
I don't want the public to misconstrue that we've implemented the pay plan. I think there's an assumption of what the pay plan would be that may be included in this budget, but we still have not received the pay plan. We anxiously await for it.
Well, I will mention that in addition to that 4%, based on preliminary numbers on the pay plan, we included moving anybody who after the 4% still fell below the proposed new minimum pay rates. Those were increased to the minimums to implement that pay plan. That's in here. However, since that pay plan has not been provided, finalized and approved by any of the bodies who have authority to do that, the Civil Service Commission and the council, while they're included in here, that part can't be implemented until
The city council is not, because I get asked when I run into employees sometimes, we're not responsible for the pay plan, nor is the administration. That's a civil service issue, correct me if I'm wrong, until they present it to the administration and then to the council.
We work it with them, but they have the option. We're waiting on it like you.
Right.
The administration is, and it's an up or down for you guys when it comes, so I have to alleviate Mr. Lawson of the calls he gets, because we have to look at it all after the civil service folks and everybody else are in
The
agreement.
council's getting nothing, so we're help underwriting its increase,
Speaking of
right?
which,
That's correct. Thank you.
Increase in miscellaneous.
what page?
Any other questions, Mr. Marshall? Mr. Smith?
I think Mr. Marshall has another question on,
Page 10?
Let's see.
Let's answer. That's
I'm still looking
important. That's
at
important.
my clerk's salaries here. And that's kind of, that's roughly 2,000. They didn't, because they didn't get a decent raise last year. They didn't get one at all.
It includes 4%. There's a 4%
I
raise
think they got the
included.
2%, didn't they? Last year? They didn't get the 2%?
No, we requested.
Y'all didn't get 2% now?
Yes, actually they
I thought they
did.
got the 2%.
And the city guy.
Yeah.
They
got
did.
the same, we're doing the same.
If you look, you can see 2 years ago, you can see what the salaries were in 06, 07, and 07, 08. You can see that they
It's
changed
there.
by those percentages.
Let's go.
Okay. Still a little tipping. You ready to go, Mr. Marshall?
Let's go.
All right, good.
Well, we can always go back and revisit if we got another question about it.
Mr. Smith, and then we'll go to Mr.
I just want to ask you, I know when we looked at the 58 million, we were talking about the budget, and I saw where you said something about professional service.
Just this one, Mr.
Yeah. Okay,
Mr. Smith.
what is that?
This was your final number that you have in your big book, and before you walked in, Mr. Crutchfield wanted to point out that there were 3 new positions. I'm going to circle them, and then I'm going to show you the salaries on 2. So what all of you are missing is, if you look at, going by memory, it's section 2.3.
Yes.
It's 2.3, section 2.3, page 3 of section 2. Should list your final budget number, which is 58.2 million. All right, and then if you look here, Charles, we added 3 positions at the end. One of those, which is the principal planner in planning, added a $57,000 line item, but you'll see that we reduced professional fees by the exact same amount of $57,000, because you're getting rid of a contract person and adding them as an employee. So that part was a wash. And that's your change from 58 to this.
Section
That's
1,
all,
page
that's
5.
what we're referencing.
So we can add in another professional service?
Any other regular, those will all be put in there in other columns. This was just one, I see what you're saying. This was one that they took, that you're taking out because you're adding an employee. It doesn't affect any other professional service
No, I
agreements
just want to
that
add
comes
that other
out
one
of
there
other
that we
money.
need to help with those projects. Maurice.
Maurice, That would come out of other money we have budgeted for professionals. It won't be affected by this.
No, I don't want to affect, I just want to see if we just gonna add it in the budget.
It's already budgeted for. It's
Okay.
already exists in other line items, it's just not been used. I understand what you're saying.
Okay. All right,
Section 2, page 13,
I ain't gonna be a good quick score. I see what you're
the
saying.
office of the mayor. And if we need to rearrange it.
Yeah, you're right, Charles, I see what you're saying, but that's a
You're gonna
good,
just
that's a good
eliminate
idea
it
to do
as a line item.
that way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
planned.
run that
I
lump
see
sum.
why
Yeah.
you're saying that.
yeah.
It's a better place to keep it. We'll just fix that.
Yeah,
If
we'll
we
put
move
it-
forward, we'll do that.
Huh?
Part of the adoption.
It would just put it as a line item, and we won't be bothered with, you know.
Well, page 13 is the mayor's office.
I'm holding the paint on.
Now, how we have on the contracts later?
What's that?
That's on the zero line that it's normally paid.
We don't have anything under contract labor in the mayor's office.
That's what Maurice could correct all that.
Yeah, and he's done contractors too. Well, police.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
No major changes. Mayor's department, any questions? And
No reorganization that was done or is being proposed, which you will get changed any money line items. In other words, with the recreation issue coming in, the way it works out, it's within the line item as it already existed as a recreation officer. So the chief of policy and recreation that comes in when those reorganizations occur just flips, you know, one gets zeroed out and one gets added.
yeah, we'll see that here in just a few minutes.
So there was there's none that were added, and indeed, we still have 2 or 3 that remained unfilled that we've zeroed out now, so we that'll actually show a percentage under.
And actually, I have an employee slot recap. Nancy, can we make some copies of this? Any questions? That's what I should just ask you questions.
What,
I don't ever use it, Kay does. He said 18,000 for furniture, I said, I don't ever do anything.
I've seen your office,
My office looks just like Ned's.
Yeah, it looks worse.
No, I'm just kidding.
Gentlemen, what I'll do is, if it's okay with you, is go through these sections, point out the highlights or major changes, and if you have any, and then I'll ask for any other questions instead of going line by line for things that had little or no change. I mean, we'll still go to every page, and if you have questions, you can ask. Okay.
You'll see it's actually 16.
That's all right.
Page 16 is the general government section,
Do away with that.
which includes the mayor's assistant for workforce development and a clerical specialist.
You on 1116?
Yes, sir.
About the same.
No major changes. The salary increase that we talked about is across the board in every department.
Now, on,
David, excuse me, can
Yes,
I
sir.
go back to
Yes, sir.
executive for a minute?
Office of the mayor, that's page
No.
13.
No, legislative.
Okay. Which
Page
page?
2-7.
7?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
On the economic development.
Yes, sir.
We need to increase that
We did.
from 80 to 100.
that's 7?
Okay, you want to increase economic development to 100,000?
From 20,000, increase it 20.
To 100, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I thank you, sir.
Going back to,
And just, Louis, just so you know too, in 543,000 and 54003, miscellaneous and travel were increased. So those are increases in 3 line items.
Okay.
Any other questions on page 16, general government? If not, we'll go to page 19, which is the office of the EEO coordinator. Basically no changes except for the salary.
What do we have? Let's go back to go ahead, Jackie. Yeah.
I was wondering about it too. You was at 58, but then you dropped to 53. With the raise to 55.
What page do you have?
In the 07-08 budget that we currently have, there was no one that filled that position when we originally budgeted it. So this year, since someone's actually in that job, we budgeted the actual salary.
Okay.
When I came in, I was filled line items, just
Yeah,
like.
well, that's what I figured back then when it was that one. It was kind of at the end.
There was never any taken down.
On the,
You never produced.
guess I'm looking at the training and travel. More so the training part of it. If we're out there putting the information out, it seems as if that may be a modest amount. Did I give that consideration?
Well,
I know you talked about the breakfasts and you talked about the maybe moving around, making sure that people are aware of the programs that we have. It just seems like it may be a little modest, but that's fine.
Well,
We do have a little wiggle
I
room.
agree with you, Mr.
you can see that several of the travel and training line items will be increased, but this one, since we really didn't have a benchmark, we used that amount, and since this is the first year to have somebody filling that position full-time, we didn't have a benchmark.
I also thought it was modest with the executive office as well, but let's think about it. We'll make sure we have, that's one where I don't think we exaggerated our expenses, quite frankly.
No.
We may have been
Are
modest.
y'all looking at?
We adjust that at major budget amendment if necessary throughout the year.
Okay.
Let's, I want to tell Mr. Lawson that now, because it's very modest what it is. The budget proposal by Ms. Jennings would not probably fall under this. It'll fall generally under the mayor's office for that as a mayoral assistant, and it is significantly more. Mr. Crutchfield's aware of it. I guess when we come with these other modifications, not all the way to major budget amendment, that's way away. I mean, when we bring the reorganization, there would be some changes to those as well.
And your ED, of course, I mean,
AFE's gonna cost money, and Vaughn has asked for budgeting for those items, and we just haven't completed those.
okay. Very good.
But that will be amended into the
Right,
budget.
that will just have to be
whenever it's
amended
completed.
in. So if it's, if all of you are wanting that, it sounds like you are, that's when we would do it. It's not reflected here, it'll be reflected probably as its own line item with its own budget, and we'll submit what everything is for.
Okay.
Page 22 is the intergovernmental department and executive division. And this includes most of the mayor's senior staff, the chief of staff, public relations officer, economic development officer, publicist, and the chief of policy. As you can see, the personnel liaison and the recreation person have been deleted from the budget, and the chief of policy's been added.
So it's a net zero, there's no change.
Right. There's actually, there's a reduction from the prior year's request of about 30,000.
Negative 16.
And mayor's recreation
When
is deleted.
chief of
What's that?
policy's creation,
too.
we zero out
Replaced with the
recreation.
chief of
Right.
So,
policy.
and it happens all with the other ones, we never fit security, personal liaison, this case, assume those duties, so if you go back a page to 21, it's a negative 16, it actually goes down.
The chief of policy is under your restructuring program?
Right,
Okay.
you'll be getting that shortly. In fact, it was completed last night.
can see Mr. Lawson in operating and contractual section, we did increase travel and training for that group of folks somewhat.
Travel and training.
Pretty good.
Any other questions on that section?
I know I was late. Did we change anything on engineer salary, planning salary? I mean,
We're
I know
waiting
we-
for the
I know we-
pay
we
plan.
lost-
The pay plan addresses that as best we can, but we have not received that yet.
Yeah. It's not gonna be pretty, I can tell you that. I hadn't seen the pay plan, but I can imagine what it costs for a planner and engineer. We're woefully under where we need to be.
I understand, that's what I'm saying. I know we planning a budget and we short-handed right now. We'd like to have send us something.
Actually, in our engineering division, under planning, we're pretty well where we need to be as far
But
as
only recently
engineers.
did that.
And that's been very recent, yes. But we're lacking in, like, we don't have a water superintendent, which requires an engineering degree. We don't have a street superintendent, which requires an engineering degree. So we have some, across the city, we have some.
I know, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that for us to be competitive and, you know, and we get somebody that really got somebody, you know, that's on the ball, they got to have, whether it's OSHA now, they got to have all these different training. I mean, we're gonna have to set our standard high with corporate America. We're gonna take the best.
You're saying to hire planners and engineers, you have to pay them more.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. If we don't, we're gonna lose.
No, you're not gonna lose it, you're not gonna get it.
We're not gonna get our problem is.
Get first year students out of the school.
Well, we'll just be like our linemen, be just a training function.
I mean, you're a corporation. I mean, whether people look at city government, but it's a corporation. When you start getting up in these $200 million, be like Whites and Gold Ring.
We don't have that much.
I'm through. I'm sorry.
Page 25 is the city court budget. And the city pays some of the expenses of the city court. So,
And I want to make sure we know that Judge Carlin has done a tremendously good job, and
Yes.
Marshall over there,
Yeah.
for being creative and taking the load off the city. Been very, very creative.
Well, they get commissions, though.
I hope he doesn't.
any questions on the city court budget? Judge Starlin?
Is that
Yes.
number
For
correct?
salaries?
Well, we don't, 100% of this salary doesn't come straight.
Oh, okay, I just fixing
We
to
got the
say.
police jury and everybody else.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I looked
I thought
at
it was like
$38,000.
That's our direct
Okay.
line item.
There's several contributors to this.
This is our contribution.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Coming up.
No. Page 28 is the city marshal's office. In the city marshal's office, we pay a lot of the expenses of the city marshal's office through Rapides Parish Police Jury Cost Share, which is the large line item you see at the bottom of the page. But we also keep in mind, both in the city court and the city marshal's office, we receive revenue.
Right.
The city marshals
$16
incorporated.
grand a month.
Yes.
City Marshals Incorporated where?
Page 28 is our share of the cost of the city marshal's office, which right here is mostly.
$394. He gets all of that?
He's got a lot of employees.
How much we had in
We raised it to.
Oh, you did?
Question?
Any questions, city marshal?
That's Rapides Parish Police Jury Cost Share?
Yes. The police jury is responsible, they collect the cost and then bill the entities for their share of it. So our share, that's our share of the city marshal's office. Cost. Page 30, any other questions? page 30 is the finance admin department, which is kind of a catch-all for a lot of things that don't really fit in any other particular department in the budget. It includes a lot of transfers to different funds from the general fund.
Did we ever get any of our money back from Katrina?
Yes, sir. We have gotten most of it back. There's a little bit that's out there, and there's some technicalities on some forms. The accounting manager met with them last week and is making the changes they requested on those forms. So we hope to get the rest of it soon, which I don't know what soon is for FEMA.
But they paid about 80–90% of it?
Yes. Close to 80%.
David, did the auditors anything ever tell us to set up an emergency fund?
For, what's that?
You know, for disasters and things like that. You know, just
We
like
don't have
officers had, you know, those, you know, those meals, already meals, you know, the
MREs.
And I'm talking about officers when they had this thing, they could go to them and they had kind of set up something on the side for disaster.
We don't have, we received a stock of those sort of things from Office of Homeland Security in advance of the storm, and since then, when there has been the potential for a hurricane or some other emergency, it's been a little more organized in getting those kind of things done sooner. So, but we usually get our supply of water and those kind of things, meals, MREs and that stuff from the Office of Emergency Preparedness.
But we made a budget amendment for $1 million, didn't we?
I know it, but I'm just saying, I was just wondering, did we need to set something on the side, you know,
Emergency fund?
emergency fund?
Well,
I mean, we can go in and use it if we need it, but I'm just saying, I was just wondering if we need to set up an emergency fund where something happens like that. We wouldn't have to call the council meeting.
Well, I guess we could, but, you know, you'd basically be restricting a portion of fund balance, maybe to be used only in time of emergency.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm just,
Convene.
Better off to
Convene.
We truly would be in a position to enact emergency ordinance if it's a situation like that.
Which we did when that occurred.
To address it, so.
Any other questions?
That golf course fund, the transfer.
A transfer to the golf course fund.
Where are you?
Where are we?
Page 30. Towards the bottom of the page are the transfers from the general fund to other funds. You can see the sanitation fund, the zoo fund, golf course, risk management, and employee benefits. What is it?
That zoo's big bucks, isn't it?
That's another one.
What's that?
That zoo is big dollars.
Not
But
cheap.
on the golf course, why increase it like it
Well, these are estimates. For instance, the final budget in the 07-08 column is 391,000. We actually are only at about 170,000. But that budgeted number assumes full expenditure of everything, which, you know, is not gonna, it doesn't happen. So it'll actually be significantly less than that, probably less than half of that. And the council approved, and the golf course has implemented some fee increases. Another one goes into effect May 1st, I think. So I expect that number to be significantly lower.
Big chunk of that is reflected because of the cost allocation from golf course fund back to general fund went up.
Okay.
So general fund has to pay itself for it.
Which we'll cover when we get to the golf course fund, but what Mr. Johnson was saying is there's some non-cash things like we do a full cost allocation where the processing of documents in the accounting department, part of that cost is allocated out to the golf course, in which case then the golf course has a deficit for that amount and the general fund makes it up. So it's kind of a circle that no cash is actually spent, it's just an allocation of expenses from the general fund.
Mr. Crutchfield, also on the transfer to the river Front Center Fund and the Metro Sheriff Fund. Can you explain those?
Those are both zero. I don't know what Metro Share is.
Metro Share is one of the federal funds that we had for like a year or two. We don't have it anymore.
Okay.
When we transferred it, historically it had some. That's why line items are.
Thank you,
And the Riverfront Center was that transfer? That was a one-time transfer.
Yeah. Apparently there's a one-time transfer. We don't normally, we make a $25,000 transfer.
If you look right above it, 646017,
Okay.
646017, right in the middle, you'll see the Riverfront Center.
That's our annual $25,000 allocation to their, to the Riverfront Center. And then in addition to that, we also appropriate money for capital projects to that, improvements to that building, which is our building.
Right, that's,
Why do we give the port money?
Well, that's through a cooperative endeavor agreement that's been in place for some time. The mayor,
I think the police jury gives them a little bit too, maybe a negligible amount.
I'm just saying, I mean, I see they building $1 million warehouse.
there was a $40,000 contribution that existed from the city several years ago, under the previous administration. It was matched by a $40,000 contribution from the Red River Waterway Commission. The Waterway Commission has ceased giving $40,000 for various reasons. And I just received, in fact, today, the request for the $40,000 allocation. Last year, we came in and reviewed, as part of this review process we do on every cooperative endeavor, what deliverables we were receiving from the port for $40,000. We asked that a new contract be signed that had deliverables listed in it. There was some degree of a non-desire on the part of folks to do that. We ended up getting the agreement signed. We're going to Lisa Harris will reassess that at this point this year. From a policy standpoint, we received a request, so we went on ahead and budgeted it like we have done every year. It's a valid question, and what we have to do is make sure that there's some return for $40,000. To be honest with you, Mr. Smith, to me it looks like the $80,000 at one time, now it's just us doing it, really was paying, it probably was a salary offset type situation.
There should be accountability, if you're not satisfied, we'll amend it.
And maybe look at our relationship, how we can grow it if it's something that needs to be nurturing. I know they work with us with this generator that was needed by Clico.
That's right.
So if we have those type relationships that we can grow on, I think that's, maybe we need to bring them in and see how we
Yeah,
can.
I mean, I can understand, but I look, when they getting all these guys to get this money, and they building, I mean.
Tell you what.
I mean, you can see, I can use that to get, I can put something in my car.
If you ever want to.
My car. With somebody.
If you ever want to see the value of what we do, probably the snapshot, you can look at this page here. And we carry a lot of things. And support a lot of entities in Rapides Parish. And I think sometimes folks forget that.
All right, if you see this page and community services page, probably
speaks.
There are millions of dollars that go to things that are quality of life issues for more than just Alexandria, the whole parish.
Mr. Lawson,
and the central Louisiana area.
just for the benefit of the public, listen, when we were talking a while ago, in case y'all were talking and weren't heard, I want the public to know what we're talking about. We were saying just that, Myron was pointing out that 2.30, that list under other, are really the types of items that would be hit in this, when you talk about reallocation, along with community service, when we get to that. Those are the two sets of items. If a citizen said, okay, what's affected by anything, if you go to 230.30, there's your list. There's some big items there.
When you take the things out of it that can't be cut, like supplemental pay for police and fire, and street lights, et cetera, and then take $4 million from it, see where you are.
Now, enterprise fund,
Which is another $2 million.
Now, Mr. Smith, we review all those items as they come up. We'll review the port one. I have to echo what Mr. Lawson said. The Hitachi deal was tremendous. for us, and, we'll carefully look at those things and report
No, I
back to you.
just one of them, I mean, I could see, sometime coming back and actually with something that maybe if they need it, they don't need it,
In the chamber?
The deliverables we listed for the court in exchange for the 40,000, pretty,
We don't, I thought we
you know,
get something.
it wasn't asking a lot, I'll say that. I mean,
Where's the chamber?
We do
they ought to
get
be
a
able to
chance.
meet those things.
Where's that?
Doesn't have the bus.
Yeah. Sure.
What's that?
Just doesn't have the bus in it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
well, that'll be another one, but.
I'll get them to market.
Unless it's under dues and
We'll
subscription.
get a chamber something to market. I just don't see where it is. Okay.
25,000.
That's what I'm getting the number of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The bonds and the transit. Right. Ouch.
Okay.
Any other questions on finance admin? Page 33 is finance division director, which would be me.
Now we can get to the cutting.
There's not much there to cut.
Just line, first line.
First line was that.
The machinery machinery and equipment line item for 100,000 is for the document imaging equipment that you guys awarded a few weeks ago.
Because Wadsworth didn't find it. I thought we had a couple of years ago.
She's still looking for it.
That was a message.
Yeah.
So it is. That's what that is for. Any other questions there? I'll go to the business office, page 36. And the reason that there are zeros in the first few columns of the page is that the business office in the past, when it was located at City Hall, also collected utility payments and did a lot of things related to the utility department. So it was in the utility fund. Since they are no longer doing that and do things strictly related to property taxes, we moved them to the general fund. So, but their budget is relatively the same. We did budget $50,000. We're contemplating changing to the same software that the tax assessor and the sheriff's department uses for property taxes, just for some compatibility issues. It's working like it is, but it might work a little smoother.
That's the 50,000.
Yes.
35 increase.
Yes. And we don't know exactly what it would cost. That's an estimate. It could be less and could be more. If we even do that, it's just budgeting for that option. Any questions, business officers?
What was the increase in the Friends of the Hospital? Help me out on that one.
It could be the change in, if you had an employee leave and another employee hired a new employee and they picked a different medical plan.
Or change the status.
There's a different cost for being single. Maybe one got married and now has their whole family on the plan. So
That was a good little increase, that's what I was asking.
well, there's a significant difference between cost of single coverage and family coverage.
Trust me, I knew.
Well, of course, you did it, right? But that's we didn't add any personnel, so
Okay.
that would be the only reason for that change. And we did not increase health insurance premiums this year, so.
Say that loudly on the
Scottsville
And retirees as
versus
well.
a raise.
Active employees or retirees, we propose no
I
increase
get beat up
in health insurance.
every time I see a retiree, starting with my uncle Billy Baker, when we talk about increasing retirees, and that's a big load to carry. So
It is.
that's good to
And
have
insurance.
do that.
Absolutely. We had a favorable year, our self-insured medical plan, so we.
Who was that working on so long? Was that Brenda? Who was it that kept playing? Brenda Colson? Yeah. Y'all thank Brenda Colson,
Okay.
employees. She
That's
works
right.
on me and Dave in the hall every day.
So you're real
Don't
talented.
do it. Don't
They
do
can
it.
change it one
They
catastrophic.
definitely can.
Okay.
Page 39 is the accounting department. We have proposed adding a clerical specialist in the accounting department. That's the only change. Any other questions? Any questions? Page 42 is the purchasing department. There is a proposed addition for the assistant manager for the purchasing department. You know, we've had a lot of increases in the workload of that department over the years. The bid process is very, very complex, and we're consistently behind on getting things bid out. So that was a suggestion of the purchasing manager to move those bid documents through there a little bit faster. Would be to have some person obviously could delegate that to. So that is the proposal for purchase.
Can we track that over next year?
How do we determine what we go out on contract for? That's a conversation.
Well, it's actually strictly laid out.
I'm gonna give you an example. Cellular phones. I probably get a call once every other month from different carriers. We've been with the same carrier.
There are some things like that. For instance, cellular phone service, that was bid at some point, and the successful bidder was Alta. And, you know, I guess we could rebid it at any time, but then if someone else is successful, you have a lot of equipment costs.
It's not something you do willy-nilly.
So we don't do that.
I guess what I'm asking, and I'd like to see down the line, are parameters for things like that. I know we have a similar situation with other things as well, but how do we know we're getting the best balance we can get unless we gotta do a competitive analysis? Probably once at least every 3 or 4 years.
I agree with you. I think we probably at least need to ask for proposals and compare to what we have and just factor in the additional cost of equipment changes that might be necessary. That's what I'm looking at.
I understand with the new person coming on board, maybe we can start looking at these in which we I get a little nervous when we don't check the oil out, some of our providers every now and then.
I think they did. I've been asking the same thing, and cellular phones was my example too. I think, Myron, there's, as you know, a lot of hidden costs in that.
Absolutely.
Changing number, you know, if you can't change every number, you've got to do things with that. There are just tons of things that maybe make us a little reticent about it, but I agree with you. I think you have to continue to look out there and see.
If nothing else, negotiate.
Right, and it's one of those things also that because of those issues, when there's a big backlog of other things like trucks and equipment that need to be bid, then those things get focused on first.
Charles is chopping at the bits over there.
I think it's an error of complacency, and as a result of that, it's costing us more in many instances. So I think therefore you have to assess it every so often and make sure you're getting a fair shake.
Hopefully this person will come in and bring some fresh eyes to it. Okay.
Any other questions? Go to the print shop.
Of all the things, and that's why I want to make sure with purchasing that we have what we need to deliver what we need to
Get the job done.
Yeah, get the job done. I don't want to short the purchasing department of all departments, no department, quite frankly. But you feel comfortable adding this position, don't put us where we need to be.
I hope so. I mean, I'm very, y'all know me, I'm very conservative, especially on adding positions because that's recurring cost. And that's one in my division. So I hope it brings us up to where we need to be, but.
And again, I'm looking at travel and training. If your purchasing folk are not out there looking at new technologies, new ways of getting information, I mean, what do you learn?
Well, they go to, our top purchasing people do go to the national, just the NIGP, I'm not sure.
So that will cover all of that.
Institute of Government Purchasing. They do go to those things, and they haven't requested additional funds.
How do we handle buying our gasoline?
We bid gasoline and diesel purchases on a regular basis.
But you get 3 bids?
I'd have to have Mr. Despino here to answer that. I guess however many people want to bid, or it's open to anyone.
It was just bid recently.
To bid those things. Yeah, it comes up, I think, every 6 months. We bid it every 6 months.
I mean, what I'm saying, the prices stay the same and even with fluctuation of where gas is.
No, the price changes with the price of gas, but I'd have to get that document to show you.
Tell on oil and gas.
Oil and gas.
Yeah, I'm just saying, how did that, I mean, when you do that, it throws us, I guess he got his budget, but that's going to throw his budget line out.
It does, and we adjust that every year at major budget amendments because it's unpredictable.
Mr. Smith, what they do is Mr. Despino's bid, which has been similar the last few years, he goes out to the different jobbers, and recently I think we had 2 or 3 different jobbers respond. And the way the city bid works is the jobber has to designate 2 or 3 national recognized brands. It doesn't say Exxon or Chevron or Texaco, but the dealer jobber has to give us 2 or 3 different available supply points. And the purchasing department looks every day or every week to see where the best price is from week to week, because it does fluctuate, and I guess that's what you're getting to.
Yeah.
And so the department makes those changes, lets the jobber know what they feel for that day is the appropriate rate, and then the jobber's income is based on a specific bid amount that is like 1/4 cent or some amount. I really don't know the details.
That's fine, I mean, I was just...
That's the way it works, and we try to have several different suppliers available each time through that process so that the departments can check to see as fluctuations, because there's a fluctuation every day in the spot market.
Kind of print shop? Which one, print shop?
Print shop,
Under print shop, under operating contractual, looking at those numbers, one of the things that we've talked about and looking at our cities, what I would like to see done, and especially coming from print shop, I'll talk to the mayor, we talked about this at the retreat, is selling our city more when it comes down to tourism and looking at what we need to do in promoting Alexandria. And we can do a lot within our own print shop. And that's one of the things that I've talked to the mayor about and he's talked about, is some of the things that we can do in-house. And I would ask the mayor and the administration, do you see if we increase where we are, based on the figure that's listed under 90,300 administration approved, would this be feasible if we kind of beefed up where we are, so far as brochures and those little fact sheets about our city when it comes to the zoo, other areas we want to promote? Do you see this being a significant amount based on what we have for that number?
well, we've moved almost all, we have a state-of-the-art print shop, and we've moved almost all of our outsourced items are now done in the print shop. So I don't know if that specifically answers your question, but we can do at only the cost of paper and supplies, we can do just about whatever would be required. I know if Lisa Harris was here, she could address just what they're doing for her, but we do almost all of our printing in-house.
Right.
We used to outsource a good bit of it, and we don't do that anymore.
Right. And I just wanted to raise that question just to, just to know.
I appreciate you doing that, because we do have, Mr. Fowler could probably, tell us, you know, his expert opinion on that, but I think we have a state guard.
He said cut his business 50% when we move in house.
Thank you.
Just keep the insurance business where it is. I need it. Okay.
Central warehouse on page 48. No major changes. In that department, we had actually a slight decrease over the prior year, mostly due to capital. Less operating capital outlay this year in that department. Any questions on that?
Okay.
Parts warehouse, page 51, same deal, basically no changes, just a reduction in capital. Public Works is next. I had asked the division directors to come here in a particular order. Let me see. Give me just a couple of minutes.
Only recess for about 5 minutes.
Our meeting is gone, turn the sound off, we'll make all the changes.
Stretch it a bit.
Put you in the budget on you come here.
Yeah. Thank goodness I got that kind of. Ahead of Squire Creek,
Where are we gonna get on the auto?
like 8th in the state.
Where are we gonna get on the auto? Okay, go ahead and resume, the budget, hearings
On there, we'd have to amend.
for year 2008, 2009. Mr. Crutchfield?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next section is the Public Works section. And I've asked the Division Director, Ms. Lawson, to be here. She's here. So, some questions about particular items in this budget. She would probably be better able to answer than I would, so we'll see which questions, as questions arise. Page 55 is a Public Works Administration Department, which contains the Director of Public Works and the Assistant Director, and one administrative assistant. There's a line item added for professional fees and services. From time to time, things arise, such as traffic studies or other particular items where they need to engage an expert to help. So that's the reason for that particular line item being added.
We're not gonna do anything in mosquito control this year.
That's been moved to another.
The street department is now in control of that function.
You know, I guess we'll get to mosquito control is one of my questions.
Okay, and yeah, that'll be in the street department we'll get to. Any other questions in the admin department?
What about acquisition? Not doing anything on that.
No, that's land acquisition. Page 58 is the Code Enforcement Department. One thing that the administration is currently working on is a reorganization of that department. It's not complete yet, so this budget doesn't reflect that reorganization.
Where will it land?
Where's Kay? Is Kay here? She's been working on that. Probably.
We'll wait until Kay comes back now.
Well, I'll just skip all this. So she gets there.
Any other questions on code enforcement? Where that will land in planning or public works, I think is a question. And I think the leaning towards planning, but Kay's been working on that. Any other questions?
On the code enforcement, man, are they gonna record it for the have those commercial properties
They have to be part of them.
We catching the devil, huh?
That's my problem.
Condemnation.
The one that's,
That's the
the
problem.
one in planning,
I don't know people, huh?
the one in planning.
It's a different animal with.
I don't know, we need the mayor.
They're talking about consolidating it,
Yeah.
and we believe we're leaning right, Mariel, toward planning, but haven't decided.
Right.
So that you pull what's
have
in
in one place.
DPW and what's in planning and put them in one place, and we're leaning toward planning. And yes, in case, they would be they would have that bailiwick all unto themselves, the whole thing. So they would handle commercial, they would handle residential and any other types of violations, grass, everything, right? Everything.
Because I know over on Rapides Avenue, we got several of those buildings where the roofs are completely falling in.
Yeah, we got, we catching.
But the problem with our challenge,
We catching the devil.
our challenge is with the state law. And I think we need to bring our legislators in. We can't treat a commercial structure and, well, federal. I knew it was either state or the federal. Mayor said it's federal. We'll bring in our federal legislators so that we can expedite it. And, I mean, from that,
It's notice issues. I mean, the state will pass things and give each state more freedom. Louisiana can get on the cutting edge, but it's all about what notice you provide them, and you can't find them. You'll have people that have a succession, it's not been open, and it's 2 or 3 heirs you have to locate, and we just have some notice issues. Unless you can declare the structure a danger, and an immediate danger, we have a lot of notice issues.
we can do a lot of those.
There may be some that do pose a risk to public health and safety, but the ones that are just completely abandoned and could be a future risk, but are just left unattended, they're a little bit tougher to do.
I was just saying right now, the residential component of demolition and condemnation is handled through community development. And of course, that's under the planning division, but I think there have been some restrictions on the commercial side of what we can or can't do as far as.
But I know that, that's why we was, kind of gave the mayor permission to go in and do this and take some risks. And if they didn't want to pay and they want to sue, then we just have to go to court. But I'm just being truthful with you, but I mean, people are on Lewis, they're on me, you're riding down the 3rd, you're going to Mall Street, you come down, we got all of them dilapidated buildings.
J-Quad is the group in charge. I know that, so we don't sound like we're just saying there's nothing. J-Quad has been handling and ramping up its activity toward that. They have some pieces they have to get in place. But it's one of those things where you don't see what they're doing up until the point where all of a sudden they start getting these properties adjudicated, and that's where we are. But I would defer to Ms. McGill's.
None of these properties are found tax sales?
Possibly some have, and those can be taken in a whole different way. That's a completely different method that allows.
That'd be easy to research, fairly easy to research.
No, I didn't, when you brought it up, I didn't know. When you brought it up, I know we didn't put any money in that before those commercials. So Lewis got it on Rapides. I mean, it's just time out. People going to Marksville and they ride up there. Well, they sure look bad going down 3rd Street. Well, ain't nothing we can do. We got a car wash down there across from the school, And,
But isn't that with with all that asbestos and that car wash?
yeah.
But the thing about it is that I know like in my district, when you're looking at I-49, you get off of I-49 heading towards Rapides General, or you go to get back on or go down to Kent House Plantation. You got the old Tiki Lounge, the Sheffield building, and another building that the roofs are falling in. I mean, flat falling in. What do? We wait until they just fall apart and then pick up the rubble or what?
Maybe we can get legal counsel to give us something. That's a budget issue for sure, but I think it's an issue where we need to dedicate more time as an agenda item on the council. Because it's something we really need to address, because it is a health item. We have rodents that are running around, so it does pose some risk.
Y'all know shit. Ms. McGill's is here.
Well, with a couple of questions. First of all, where is code enforcement going to land? And I think the second question was about expediting the commercial demolition process.
Condemnation.
We just had an A&E selection this morning to select an architect to do the specs for the third floor of the customer service building, and we're going to consolidate code enforcement and the building inspectors there.
Under
We're-
planning.
under planning. So we're working on that. With regard to the commercial demolitions, we had a meeting week before last between planning and all of the inspectors. And we are developing a form and a procedure for them to go out and conduct the inspection all together. We've had some issues in the past because no one really has been in charge of commercial condemnations. Brenda Ray has always handled the residential, and commercial was really not her responsibility under the task that she's been assigned. But she's taken on that task. When we get the code enforcement and the building inspectors consolidated, the person, the building official and the code enforcement officer, the chief code enforcement officer, will be responsible for commercial condemnations. But in the meantime, we are preparing a procedure for them to follow for those condemnations. Unfortunately, James Branch is not here today. He could speak to some of these issues, but he won't be in today.
J-Quad is doing the inventory of our properties that may
Correct.
fit the mode.
Correct. They're working on that now. They'll be here the week of the 14th and 15th and 16th to conduct some community meetings.
You already have a structure in there, and you just use it part-time. Like we go on these commercials, like Lewis say the roof is falling in over there. The mayor was saying like under federal, under emergency or something like that. Do they?
I was talking
we
about
have
that.
appropriate more money, because one time we had used a structure engineer to go in there and really give us a report that it was in bad shape.
Under the International Building Maintenance Code, which we adopted last January, they can, our building inspectors, our mechanical inspector and our building inspectors, plumbing and gas inspectors as well, will go in and conduct the inspection, and they are qualified to find that it is in violation of the building maintenance code. And that triggers the notice requirements.
Would it be helpful, would you want us to present like a PowerPoint to the public and to you on the notice issues, what hangs up, commercial, and then when we can do it quicker because of public safety issues? Would that be a benefit?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Lewis, they all got that.
Absolutely.
We'll get that prepared then.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
We can do it. We actually, there's a
do.
real good one that we, at the planning, the one we went to in Baton Rouge. I'd like to, he said he would come. But he told me even if he couldn't, he would send us gratis his whole PowerPoint, which you and I and Chuck could go through on the slides. It's the most informative one I've ever seen, explaining. I know y'all hear the Mennonite notice rules and all, which is Mennonite is a famous case from years ago that literally has basically hung up cities and from doing these things for years and years. And it's, you know, to the folks who defend it, it's about due process, making sure that someone knows you're doing it to their property. But
It's a federal case?
it was, went to the United States Supreme Court. It's still the seminal case on notice when you seize property or do anything to people's property. And the problem with it is it's a hard and fast rule, and legislatures and Congress have tried to legislate around it, and they get slapped every time because the justices have always maintained, of course, that procedural due process, which is what this is, has to outweigh everything in the beginning. But y'all are seeing, again, another example is the boat in the river and everything else. That's, you know, if you can't serve somebody or they're in another state, in this case in Hawaii, I think the person's finally been served. So you got a boat that's halfway sunk in the time it takes to get someone served.
Is there any way that, and I was looking at Upper Third when I went by there Sunday, expanding or doing something to the code so aesthetically when people come to this area, it looks like it has some semblance of an orderly development? I mean, there's some junkyards and stuff up there that have no fences, no nothing. Is that possibly?
Mr. Silver, I think what y'all are seeing is the calm before the storm. In other words, all these pieces that Ms. McGill's had been working on with J-Quad are in place, but those are happening in meetings and so forth, and when they come out, there'll be a flurry of activity, because when the inventory comes out, it's gonna have identified all these places you're saying, and then you're gonna start seeing action on them. And just right now, no one's seeing it, and they're hearing us talk about it, but you're not seeing any action. And I think that, I mean, I don't want to be inaccurate, Kay, if that's inaccurate.
And what I want to do is get ahead of the problem, like the one on Texas Avenue. I mean, it popped up, and now it's turned almost a full iron yard.
Talking about Dallas.
Dallas. I mean, that's totally unacceptable. I mean, I was wondering if we...
Yeah, I can tell you something about that too, but let me real quick go back to the Brenda Ray thing.
budget here.
Remember, yeah,
I'm sorry.
about 6 weeks or 2 months ago, Brenda Ray had a list of about 20 commercial properties that we did a presentation at council on, and they were able to locate the owners of about, I want to say it was about 14 of those properties. And some of those have on their own, once they got the notice, have on their own taken some measures to either take down the properties or to secure the properties. And what we'll do at the next council meeting, we'll get her to give us a status, or I'll get with her and get a status on those. But with regard to that property on Dallas, where the junkyard is being operated, it is zoned industrial. And what I've been told from the zoning enforcement officer and the code compliance officer in planning, just now I was on the phone with them, they tell me that the original site had a permit from zoning to operate the junkyard, but now they've apparently moved across the street and began operating, and they don't have the necessary zoning permit to do that. Although it is zoned industrial and it's properly located in an industrial zone, they still have to go through the permitting process. And so they are checking into that as we speak, and we'll have a status report on that for you this afternoon at 3 in the committee meetings.
Okay, and we don't want to get too deep into this. We can get deeper, you know. But we passed something back, I don't know how many years, that's, you know, in the city limits, and I think the legislature, they did something. Yeah, they did it, where, you know, they can be located in the city limit. That one, you know, the original site, the one across the street, it got by because of the zoning and all that. And at the time, I don't know, we ran them off of one street, off Lee Street Extension, if you remember, and then they end up there, and they got by, and they got the right permits to get it. But this time, we on top of this one now. He totally illegal across the street, and it wasn't all in place, putting it just, you know, these junkyards in the city.
Does that qualify as a transfer station?
No, it's not a transfer station.
That's what that was the DeWitt law. I thought that was dealing with
That's a
garbage.
transfer.
That was a DeWitt law.
I thought the DeWitt law,
Yeah, dealing with waste.
Landfill. We did. When we stayed within the city limits, we did sometimes.
Well, you had a fence that's required.
They're required to have permits, and they're also required to have some stormwater.
Do we require notice?
Permits that they don't have.
No,
I think I saw them washing the car.
But that was the chicken portrait. They had some contamination over there. We thought when they were doing it, they were supposed to clean that site off, and
I just found it all routine. I got in trouble washing my car in my office, but you can put a junkyard.
Ms. McGee,
They are required to have a stormwater permit, and we're looking into that right now to see if they have the appropriate permit from the DEQ.
This is budget hearing, by the way.
But we all,
I know the people out there had it in fish grease about that popping. It's terrible. It's terrible.
now we got that old station been looking at it for years.
Yeah, that's right.
Years.
Okay. That's,
Where were we?
I was going.
Dave and I just
I came here for public works budget.
my mother at home probably doing this and shaking her head.
Hey, we need to budget a building or something.
Page 61 is the streets and right-of-way department.
Any questions?
there's no major changes in the budget except in the capital section for requested equipment.
Mosquito controls in there now? There's 53,000.
Yes, it is.
We got, on the equipment, are we where we should be so far as in public works with the vehicles and the front and back loaders?
As far as the street department, pretty much everything we've requested, with the exception of one item, and I think we'll be able to take care of that in this particular fiscal year, has been placed in the budget and approved by the administration.
But we got all of them, the flusher trucks, so we can flush out them.
Yes, sir, that is included in
Rabbit
here as
runs.
well. Yes, sir.